Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Two Chiefs, One Mike podcast. I'm Mike Hawkins.
Hey, everybody, I'm Scott Hughes, and it is my privilege to welcome you to this episode of the Two Chiefs, One Mike podcast. I am beyond honored to have Brandon Griffith on with us today. I met Brandon last month at the National Law Enforcement Officer Hall of Fame induction ceremony, where Brandon received the Distinguished Service Award. And Brandon has what I believe is an absolutely incredible story, and I'm going to let him tell the story. And that incident that he was involved in has led to a nonprofit called the Griffith Blue Heart nonprofit that's doing phenomenal work for law enforcement officers throughout the country. So, Brandon, good seeing you again, brother. It's been about a month. How are things out in Arizona?
It's getting hot, man. I think it's about 106 today. So,
oh, man, that sucks.
Yeah,
it's about
it's
68.
Not Michigan. Yeah, it's not that.
Brandon, you started out in about 2008, I think, if I paid attention. Is it Pinal? How do you say that county?
With Pinal County Sheriff's Office now, but yeah, I started my law enforcement career in 2008, all here in Arizona.
Yeah, so you've been around the block for quite some time, and you still are on as a reserve there out there. So props to the sheriff for holding your commission. But listen, man, why don't we just jump right into it, man? Walk us through kind of your story and what led to you and I meeting in Fort Worth, Texas last month, because I think it's an incredible story.
Yeah, man, we all have those moments we look back in our life that were pivotal, right? But how many people can honestly say their life changed in an actual heartbeat? Like, I can actually look at mine and be like, I know the exact moment that my life changed. But here I was, it was 2014. I had just made my agency SWAT team. I was in great physical shape, sitting there with my wife. You know, she makes fun of me because I've been shot at. I've been in knife fights. I got pinned under a vehicle during a water rescue, and I died at home reading a book. I wasn't saving a kid or doing anything cool, but like 4 out of 5 cases, my cardiac arrest happened at home. So I'm sitting with my wife reading this book. I stand up, I put the book down. I say, hey, I'm going to take the dog out. I take 2 steps towards my den door, and it was just like, if you ever had someone jump out and scare you, you know, and your heart skips that beat. Well, imagine that feeling, but you can't really recover from it. Like your heart's in a stuck fluttering motion, right?
How old were you, Brian?
So
how old
at this time I was 26 years old.
6?
Wow.
26 years old. And I just had this electrical malfunction that misfired in my heart. So I'm standing there and I feel this fluttering happen in my chest. And, you know, if you guys have been through critical stress incidents, weird stuff happens, right? Time distortion, you know, auditory exclusion, tunnel vision, all of that's happening. Even though I collapsed in about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, I remember every single detail of my cardiac arrest, right? I stopped dead in my tracks and all of a sudden I'm just like, oof. All of a sudden I can't breathe. Well, we're trained to do combat breathing to lower our respiration rates and kind of compose ourselves. But turns out when you're in cardiac arrest, there is no blood flow going to your lungs. So they physically can't expand with oxygen. So I was sitting there doing what's called agonal breathing, basically convulsing, trying to force myself to breathe. And my wife turns around, sees my face as the darkest purple she'd ever seen, immediately recognizes this was an emergency, calls 911, puts it on speaker, and drops the phone as I collapse back into my bookshelf. She goes to brace me. Now, I'm 6'4". She's about 5'3". So, of course, I topple right over her, put my head right through the wall. I land on my hands and my knees, and I'm looking out in my hallway, and I'm starting to get that tunnel vision. But it's nothing like I've experienced in the field where it's kind of hard to focus or you're hyper-focused on certain things. This was a dark, purplish black. Like, it's literally like fluttering and caving in on me. And here I was an EMT, I was a cop, I was a lifeguard before that. Like I had all this experience and there wasn't a damn thing I could do to save my own life. And I remember that feeling of helplessness and just being like, well, this is it. The doctors that I work with are telling me that purplish black was literally gravity taking blood from my eyes and my ocular cavities, right? So I was watching myself die. In that moment, I collapsed, I dropped dead, I hit the floor. And my wife immediately recognizes this. She rolls me over. She said that I was still in lockjaw. My jugular veins are distended. And she's trying to smack me out of it, but she realizes that I'm not breathing. So she starts compressing away on me. And she worked on me while on the phone with the dispatcher for the first 4.5 minutes. Now, she's working on me, and she had the presence of mind to put my feet up on the couch. In the EMT world, this position is called Trendelenburg. And basically, it forces oxygenated blood from your legs down to your core. I can't get ER doctors and nurses to do that, but she was able to do that work on our high school sweetheart. So She's working on me. All of a sudden, the first responder arrives, fellow police officers. She has to stop compressing on me, hold the dog back, open the front door. He comes in, sees me dead on the floor, and gets to work. He does a hell of a job. I mean, he was not equipped with an AED, but he got to work compressing on me. He worked on me until about the 9.5 minute mark.
Did you
Fire and EMS showed up.
Did you know this deputy?
I did not know him. He was from my local police department.
Okay. So you didn't work
so
you didn't work where you lived.
No,
Okay.
no, I lived in a different city than I worked in at that time.
I got you.
And he was the first one to respond. So I'm still friends with him to this day, obviously. But
I bet.
he did
yeah.
He does a great job. He jumps on my chest. He's compressing away until about the 9.5 minute mark when fire and EMS show up. They drag my body in the living room, but they got more room to work. Cut off one of my favorite Nirvana shirts. They drop in the OPA. They IO drill me. The whole deal. They shocked me multiple times, but I was dead for 16 minutes and 48 seconds before they got my pulse back. Now, according to the crew, they said I started sitting up, pushing guys off me. I don't remember that part. I remember pain and a lot of it. You know, I could taste the blood in my mouth. I could feel where they drilled through my leg. If you ever fall asleep on your hands and legs, get that painful pins and needles feeling, imagine that everywhere, like on steroids. But worst off was my head. Literally with every heartbeat, I was getting that white flash and that painful, like shooting migraine all over the top of my head because it hadn't been oxygenated properly for 16.5 minutes. But my wife tells me she grabbed me by the face, told me not to leave her. I said I wouldn't before I collapsed backwards again. And then from that moment, even though I remember dying, my experience on the other side coming back, from that moment, I could feel the sway of the gurney and I could hear the firefighters walking on the rocks in my front yard. But after that, the next 5 days were a complete blur. They're doing all these tests, and I've just got little pictures and glimpses of, you know, the SWAT team surrounding me in the hospital room, giving me well wishes, family members crying, you know, I'm sobbing for some reason. Just little pictures in my head is all I got. And they start running all these tests on me, and they figure out there's nothing wrong with my heart. No congenital defects, no myopathies, no blockages, nothing. It turns out that, you know, from the time you're in the womb to the day you die, your heart sends these electrical impulses that cause it to beat in the right sequence. One misfire is all it takes for you to drop dead, and my number got punched. They tell me that they have to put a defibrillator in my chest. They implant this thing on me and tell me they don't know if it's going to happen again, but this is just my insurance device, basically. And immediately, I'm labeled damaged goods. I lost my spot on my SWAT team, and I'm facing forced medical retirement at 26. So that kind of begins the journey.
That's a hell of a beginning.
Let's take a breather. Holy shit.
So before I continue with that, I figured I'd let you unpack that for a second.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack. That was a 7 minutes and 54 seconds of unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't know what to say. Well, let me start with this. Did you have any kids at the time?
No, sir.
Okay.
Both of my kids were born after my cardiac arrest.
So, wow. What do you, when you're laying on, when you can hear these guys on the gurney, when you said you're on the gurney, they're like pushing you out to the squad or the ambulance or whatever they're doing. What are you thinking? Like, what do you like? I don't know.
It's a lot to unpack, man. You know, in that moment, according to the crew, I was in the back of the ambulance talking shit, cracking jokes. You know, they said I was calling them hose draggers.
Are you
I don't remember
serious?
that part. Like, I have no memory of the crew. I have no memory of being in the ambulance. I mean, my brain I'd been dead for 16.5 minutes, and my brain wasn't oxygenated properly. So
that's unreal. That's pretty badass. Like, you died for 16.5 minutes and got up and just blasted some firemen when you got up, or they're rescuing you, right? Drilling into the bone, doing whatever they can do. My gosh.
What a story.
I mean, I'm still friends with the crew this day, but they had to fill in those gaps. You know, my wife jumped in the ambulance with me. You know, her and my family members still fill in the next 5 days. I remember every detail going down, and that's the weird part is that, you know, these researchers that I work with say that I'm an anomaly because most of the time cardiac arrest survivors don't remember their arrest. They don't remember going down. They just wake up in the hospital and everyone kind of fills in the blank. But I remember every single detail and stuff that I shouldn't remember too. I mean, telling my wife for where I put my head in the wall, things in the hallway that I was seeing, you know, the cat going by or whatnot, like the dog over there, all these different things. You know, my wife, one of the officers had actually questioned her on it because I had my ballistic vest out and my taser was sitting next to it. And the cop was like, did you try to tase him out of cardiac arrest? She's like, no, I didn't try to tase him. She's
I
like,
love it.
earlier it was too hot, so I just took the probes off of his taser. I had the dog chasing the laser for a little bit, but because it was still on the counter next to my vest, they thought that she was trying to tase me or some stuff. But
Or
you know,
son of a biscuit.
but they kind of filled in the gaps. But it was just it's the next 5 days that I was in the hospital running all these tests. They're doing cardiac MRIs and ECGs, and they're doing genetic mutation testing and all this stuff, and basically putting this defibrillator in my chest. And that was just kind of the beginning of my fight back to full active duty and starting.
Had anything happened? Had anything happened in the days or weeks prior to that? Like, had you done, like you mentioned the SWAT team, like had you done physical fitness testing? Did you start drinking Red Bull, taking creatine? Like, did anything like that you hear about? Any of that?
No, and I've jumped down those rabbit holes. People are like, well, you must have been just cranking down Monsters and Red Bulls, or you must have been smoking crack, or something else must have been happening. But there was none of that. So I will tell you that I was in a cardiologist's office 2 hours before I died, and I got a full clean bill of health. We do all of our testing and whatnot. At the time, for a couple weeks before that, I was getting what's called PVC clusters, where my heart was basically having these extra beats. It happens to 90% of the population. I mean, I'm sure you guys have even had it at some point in your lives. But when I went and did the testing, they said, you got nothing to worry about. I had done a stress test the week before. I had done ultrasounds. I'd done all the ECGs and Holter monitors. They said, you don't want to go looking for a horse when it's probably just a zebra. You're good to go. But there was no other symptoms. It wasn't like I was passing out.
This was before you had the incident? This was before
my incident. I was in the office with the doc 2 hours before I died.
What made you go to the doctor?
I did my SWAT test before, and I was telling them 2 weeks before I made the SWAT team, and we were finishing up all the medical testing and whatnot. And I told the guy, I said, hey, man, I've been having these this extra beat in my heart and these little clusters. I want to get this thing checked out. And he goes, oh, yeah, we'll send you the right people. So I ended up getting checked out, and I did Holter monitors and ECGs and stress tests, and everything came back normal. And literally the cardiologist 2 hours before I died said, man, you got a full clean bill of health. You got nothing to worry about. 90% of the population has these PVCs. You're good to go. 2 hours later, I was dead.
So how long were you an officer before this happened again?
So I started my law enforcement journey in 2008. I was hired with Phoenix Police Department, and then they laid off our entire academy class with the recession. So then I got picked up by Buckeye Police Department, and I was with them through from that point until 2014. So about 6 years.
Okay. So now you're laughing about this now, right? You're remembering some things, some funny things. So I have to ask, what was the book you were reading?
So I was actually, are you guys familiar with Mike Ritland from the Mike Drop podcast? He was a Navy SEAL K9, big handler. So he's got a book called, I believe it was called Trident Dogs. And I was reading that beforehand, before I actually went down. So
okay. I was like, I just figured, we were laughing. It seemed relevant, right? So let's talk about, recovery, amazing story. Luckily your wife is there. I mean, it just had a perfect storm. Talk about getting back to work, what it took to get back to work, and maybe some of the obstacles that you had to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, back then, people didn't know much about it, especially cops with defibrillators. You were instantly written off. Literally, I had my chief of police tell me he was going to try to find me a civilian position with the police department because he'd already written me off. I'm like, no, I'm going back to full active duty. And he goes, nah, you're too much of a liability, is what he told me. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, so luckily at the time, my assistant chief had my back. Chief Mark Mann was just a godsend. So he had my back the entire time. And I was trying to fight back and try to go back to full active duty. And they're like, well, there's just no way you can go back with this defibrillator. Like, what if it goes off when you're on duty? What if this? They started playing all the what if games, and risk management gets involved, and all these different rabbit holes start popping up, right? Well, during my recovery time, I get contacted by the State Department of Health Services. The trauma and medical director for the entire state of Arizona is a cardiac arrest researcher. So they basically call me, and I'm still recovering at home, and all of a sudden I get a call out of the blue asking me about my cardiac arrest, and they've got a ton of details. I'm like, how the hell did you get? Isn't this all HIPAA protected? And I'm like, who the hell are you? And they were asking me to come in and talk research, and I'm like, fuck no, I want nothing to do with this, and basically told them to eat a bowl of phallic objects. And they, after some time, they reapproached me, and I basically sit down, and I talk to this doctor who's he's a resuscitation titan. But the guy sits down with me and he goes, do you know what I do? I said, no, sir, I don't. And he goes, I'm the trauma and EMS director for the entire state. I oversee all the other medical directors. If I sign off on you, there's no one above me to say no. Well, I'll take that bowl of dicks right back from you, sir. He says, look, you come work with me and you help me with some of the research. I will give you publications. I will sign off on you and get you to return to full active duty. So I made a deal with them and I started working with him at the University of Arizona. I started working with him with DHS and he got me back to full active duty. And, we basically went in there and told risk manager and everybody else, I'm safer than any cop out there. Not only do I have this device in my chest that shocks me instantly if anything happens, but I'm also on medication to prevent it. Now, cops are at a 70 times higher risk for heart disease than the general population. We're all ticking time bombs. All these guys are having strokes, heart attacks, TIAs, cardiac arrest incidents. I already have the measures in place to protect me, and then I get shocked instantly. If they do it, they only have about a 9% chance of survival. So he was able to prove it, and I was able to go back to full active duty. But man, that was going back, man. At first, everybody wants to pressure test you, though. Can you do this with your heart condition? Can you do this PT test? Can you do this crap? And I'm like, look, man, I had one electrical malfunction. It doesn't stop anything else that is going on. So I had to prove myself. I had to outrun. I had to outfight. I had to outbench my guys. But I still had to work my way back because they'd given away my spot on the SWAT team. So I had to work my way back on there as well. So it was an interesting journey, man. But
How long
it
was that process? How long did that
so
take you?
6 months of fighting, and then probably about another 6 months of getting back to normal and getting over some of the stigmas.
So about a full year, really, wow.
Were there
Full
any?
year that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I may have just missed it because I was in awe when you told the story. Did you say you had some indicators prior to the heartbeat? Was there something else?
No, nothing else, man. Like I said, they gave me a full clean bill of health. The cardiologist signed off on me 2 hours before I died.
Gotcha.
So there was nothing in there, but nothing on my medical test. Everything came back perfectly great. I was in perfect ranges. My vitals were on point. So there was no issues whatsoever. I mean, there was not even dehydration or electrolyte imbalances.
So as a result of this incident, you work your way back, you get back on the department, but then something happens and that leads us to your nonprofit.
Yeah, you go through this weird mental health shift after you go through something like this. I buried 5 friends in the line of duty. You get that kind of that survivor's guilt that, why am I here and they're not here type thing. And what they don't tell you is that there's a cardiac depression and there's all these waves of emotion that hit you as you're kind of going through your recovery. As you get this implanted device and they give you these medications that also have side effects, there's just these weird mental health waves you start going through. And I was really trying to find my purpose and how am I going to earn my second chance? How am I going to give back? What am I going to do with this? Like, I got back to being an FTO and I was training this rookie, and I quickly realized how underutilized our officers are. We get very poor equipment. Most of the training for medical is designed for civilians. They do some bullshit CPR box check course or maybe a stop the bleed course every 1 to 5 years. They give you the old blessing and they send you out there, but none of it was stress inoculation. None of it was tactical. None of it was actually putting us under pressure. None of them using metrics. But anyway, one particular incident really kind of supercharged me wanting to start this nonprofit. But I was with my OIT and his brother was a friend of mine who was killed in 2010 in an ambush. I had no idea he had a little brother. So he had my first OIT assigned to me after my cardiac arrest. And I'm telling him things happen for a reason. And I was telling him to prepare himself for medical incidents and whatnot. And probably about a second or third week with me, we got a hot tone for a motor vehicle accident. A driver slumped over the wheel prior to collision, made no attempt to hit the brakes. And there's people on scene, the guy's still in the vehicle. So this is his first time driving code 3. He's still using turn signals and trying to stop and stuff. So we get out there, we bust the window open, cut the seatbelt, extricate the guy. This is my first time doing CPR again since my cardiac arrest, man. So, I mean, I'll tell you that I was like a rabid pit bull. I'm like, I'm not letting this guy die. This is how I get back. There may have been a tear or two going down my face as I'm sitting there compressing, working on this guy. But at first, I was switching off with my rookie, and he was doing a piss poor job, so it kind of kicked him off and took over. We kept getting a pulse back and losing him again. We did have an AED. We kept shocking him. We worked on him for 18-something minutes. Fire and EMS that got on scene. We get a pulse back in the back of the ambulance, so we're all, high-fiving and whatnot. We're thinking we saved him, and I got this, you get filled with that sense of righteousness. I was able to give it back and pay it forward, right? Well, I told the crew, I said, hey, man, give me a call later, and I want to know what goes on with this guy. Captain calls me from the hospital later on and says, hey, man, you guys did a hell of a job. Guy had irreversible spine and brain damage from the car wreck, but, nothing else you guys could have done. Good job. So I'm like, all right, well, you win some, you lose some. We're going back to work, and later on, mom calls us from the hospital. Her and the doctor want to talk to us. So I'm thinking she's going to spit in my face or something like that because now she has to make the decision to pull the plug on her kid that we wouldn't let die, right? So I'm rolling into the hospital, and my mom gives me the biggest hug, and she's telling me thank you. And I'm like, for what? For what? She goes, well, not only did I get to say goodbye to my son, but he's an organ donor. Because of the quality of CPR you guys did, his organs are going to go on to save other families' lives. And I'm like, that's something I never thought about before. And I was like, you know what? If we can elevate the level of training and we can get the right equipment to cops, we're going to save so many lives. So it kind of started as a side gig, started helping agencies navigate funding to get AEDs, to get medical equipment like chest seals and tourniquets and Narcan. And it kept growing and growing, but we started having to do all the systems of cares that actually make it work. So we started doing policy writing and dispatch protocols and bringing in chiefs of police and dispatch managers and sustainability planning and all the boring stuff that makes it work. But that's when we really wanted to start changing the way that we train, because I was really tired of the bullshit classes where, hey, here's your PowerPoint, here's your clicker mannequin for 10 seconds, you guys are certified. We wanted to do stress inoculation. So we created a reality based training course specifically for law enforcement with our own medical direction. We use feedback mannequins that actually measure depth, recoil, fractional limitations. We're actually putting AED trainers on real live role players. We got wearable wounds that spurt blood that they're actually tourniqueting over. We've got them doing excited delirium. We got them doing overdoses. We got them doing all the stuff that you see for the frontline guys. And it just exploded. Now we're literally going around the country helping these guys with doing train the trainer courses. We're helping them navigate funding, get AEDs, and our programs are just quadrupling survival because simply cops are on scene first 90% of the time before fire and EMS. And just having the right equipment and that competency, these guys are absolutely saving lives left and right.
And I think that was was going to be one of my questions was, what have you seen on like an ROI? Because I think if memory serves me correct, when we were together in Fort Worth, you were sharing a couple stories of some saves that you know of, and and again, forgive me if you said this when we met in person, but you know, one of the obviously obvious benefits of having officers trained this way is to help each other. If a fellow officer goes down, you know, with a cardiac issue, you already mentioned the percentage increase for an officer to have a heart attack as compared to the general public. Are you aware of any scenarios where officers have saved officers?
Yeah, absolutely. So the guy that did CPR on me, I actually outfitted their SWAT team and their agency with AEDs. And a couple of years later, after his second shooting, he had a massive heart attack inside the station, and they were able to use it on him. So I mean, this is the guy that did CPR on me. One of my buddies with Fairfax Police Department in Virginia was out on a jog when he collapsed. They utilized an AED and saved him. They got some. We've helped a dozen cops return to full active duty with defibrillators implanted in their chest across the country because they faced the same stigmas I did. But our programs have saved several police officers around the country, several firefighters. But you guys know this. I mean, there's times where fire and EMS, it's not safe for them to come in. They're going to be parking around the block
Right.
waiting for the green light. And it's not feasible. We have to have our own medical equipment. We have to have our own competency to be able to take care of our own people.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about training on this thing, but the check the box, the PowerPoint, right, on a dummy mannequin, it just doesn't do it. Now, I was fortunate enough, geez, date myself, 27, 26 years ago, when I first started, had to be an EMT as well. And that training was phenomenal because it was like you said, that there were role playing people with it wasn't just a check the box training, but that was back in the day when you had paddles, right? It wasn't just the AEDs, but technology has come such a long way, and we carried them and we've saved people with them. And agencies that don't have them are doing a disservice to their people and their police officers. To your point of how many it's saved, I think what you're doing is outstanding. What I love too is on your website the motto, right? Earn each day. I think it's unbelievable what you're doing. So tell us more now. What you've got coming up? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, I'm glad you liked our motto, man. That was something that was told to me on the other side. You know, in my death and my experience, man, I was told to earn it. And it's something that I don't take lightly. At the end of each day, I got to look at myself. You know, was I a good father? Was I a good husband? Was I a good teammate? Did I help someone today? And it makes me really strive to earn every single second I'm given, man, because tomorrow is not promised. I can't tell you how many times we have these guys thinking they've got more time and they put off the things they want to do. So I want to make sure that I'm present, I'm in the moment, and I earn today. Coming up, man, I mean, we've been really expanding our programs. We've got some new technologies that we're working on. Our medical director, Dr. Oppenheimer, with Relay Response, has created some amazing technology that we want to integrate into law enforcement using Griffith Blue Heart's IP, our training program, our stress inoculation, some of our methodologies with his technology. We want to be able to utilize this training, utilize his technology and training and in the actual field, being able to give officers the ability to do high performance resuscitation in the field with a smartwatch or the department issued smartphone with an app, being able to utilize that in real time and get feedback on patients because everybody's different, man. Doing compressions on 87-year-old grandma is different than a 600-pound dude in a trailer. So being able to get that immediate feedback of your 2 to 2.4, your 100 to 120 beats per minute, being able to actually coach your officers on scene and be able to do switch offs, I think is absolutely vital because I mean, most cops over compress, but the general public is very hesitant. They don't want to hurt people, so they don't compress hard enough. So being able to actually have that accelerometer and be able to use that in real time and then be able to pair that data with the resuscitation devices with AEDs and get that to medical directors, we can change things systematically to really increase survival, better brain outcomes, have better brain perfusion. There's a lot of things that we're working on now on the technology side, but we're continuing to expand our programs. We just trained up a whole bunch of new leads. We're going to be able to have guys. We have some new master instructors that are going to be able to train the trainers around the country because this is something we're not seeing. I mean, most law enforcement is still doing the box check training or they're doing the EMT route. And if they do the EMT route, they've got to have medical director. They have to have their CEs every year. They're spending a ton of money on it. Most of them have got medical bags and O2. A lot of agencies are going, you know what? I just need my guys to be proficient and excel in resuscitation, trauma control, and drug overdoses. That's what we're seeing the most. So we did the frontline course, or we do the train the trainer for these guys, and they're expanding and blowing up around the country. So we're going to continue to work on blowing up our training program and being able to help spread that across the nation, as well as helping agencies navigate funding, helping them get the equipment they need because we see these programs fail all across the country. Usually these AED programs fail in the first 2 to 4 years because they just don't implement it correctly. You know, so and so was in charge of the program. He was a medic. The flight medic then retires, leaves, get fired. The program crumbles. They didn't have a chain of command in place. They don't have a dispatch protocol set up. Like Phoenix Police Department is the 5th largest agency in the country. If you have a cardiac arrest and there's a cop on a traffic stop across the street, he doesn't get dispatched to you. It immediately goes to fire and EMS, and all they get is a message on their CAD system that says, be advised, fires en route to so-and-so via medical. That's it. We're not changing the dispatch protocols. We got people dying. So, I mean, we have to be able to adapt and continue to do those systems of care. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do is really help these agencies implement successful programs and optimize them because then they'll see a direct correlation in survival in their communities.
I think that's a great point too about the dispatch protocols. We have where I'm from, we have a phenomenal fire department, advanced life support. Takes hardly any time to get there. But I do remember a call 15 years ago, and there was a complaint. Man had a heart attack. They watched the police car drive by the house. They were just on random patrol, and the dispatch protocol didn't have them go. They could have been there. And we've got great stories in our department with AEDs and with CPR of rescuing people. And to your point, just little changes of put it out there. The first person there can do so much, right? Instead of waiting all the time for the fire. So that's a great point there about the dispatch.
And a lot of people just don't understand that our fire and EMS system is not set up for success. Hey, those guys are damn good at their jobs and they want to save people. I love them to death. But the day that I had my cardiac arrest, I lived half a mile from the fire department. Well, those guys were on a call, so the next closest unit got dispatched. Well, they were on a car accident, so the next closest unit got dispatched. That's why it took them 9 minutes and 40-something seconds to get to my house. Well, we're not responding from centralized location in law enforcement. We're not 4 guys on the fire truck or 2 guys on the ambulance. We've got an army of personnel. We also don't have advocate response. Where fire and EMS are with their patient until they get equal or better care. If they're out with the patient who's diabetic and someone has a cardiac arrest a block away, they can't leave that diabetic patient. They can't toss them a Snickers and be like, hey, good luck. Someone else is worse than you. We'll be back, right? They're stuck with them. But if we're on a barking dog call or a civil issue or a shoplifting and someone's dying, we can break. And that's why it's a matter of time. It's a matter of being able to allocate our personnel at the appropriate times and able to save lives. And that's why law enforcement is making such a huge impact on survival. We're not here to replace EMS. We're not here to be EMTs or ACLS. We're just keeping them alive long enough for them to show up and do what they do. putting on a defibrillator, 2 stickers and pressing a button, using Narcan, doing compressions. I mean, all we have to do is keep that patient alive long enough for fire and EMS to arrive and do what they do best.
So, Brandon, tell us a little bit about this award that you received last month. Now, I heard the MC was not the greatest this year, but overall,
Stop. It was the greatest
the program was good.
2 years
Tell
in
us
a
a little
row.
bit about the event. Tell us about the award.
No, it was absolutely amazing. I had no idea. I got a call from Megan Stockberger, probably at the end of 2025. It said, "Hey, want to let you notify you that you've been inducted into the Law Enforcement Hall of Fame." And I'm like, "What?" I had no idea that my wife and my crew had actually gotten together and nominated me for this award. It was an incredible honor, man. You never think that you'd be put into something like that when you start your career. None of us do it for awards or merits, but man, does it feel good when you get those kind of recognitions. So it was an absolute honor to be able to go out to Fort Worth and get inducted into the Hall of Fame and have my wife out there. My sheriff was out there. You know, one of my board members was the one that actually presented me. His son died from cardiomyopathy, and he was the one to find his body. He did 30 years on Phoenix PD. So being able to have him be the one to award me just made it that much extra special, you know what I mean? So it was a fantastic night, great group, and it's just an amazing one, highlighting people around the country that just do amazing work.
So, talk about your wife for a second. She was there, obviously helped you, and now she's helping you as part of this organization, correct?
Correct. So now she's kind of in the beginning, she did a lot more, but now she's like, look, she's like, you can leave me on the website as a figurehead, but she's like, she's a full-time cardiovascular perfusionist. So all she does is open heart surgeries day in and day out. I mean, the day that I had my cardiac arrest, she had already been accepted to medical school, but she hadn't started yet. So, I mean, this was in the spring of
This
2014.
is like a crash course, right? In the living room. Yeah.
Oh,
My
yeah.
goodness.
She got it right then and there. So, I mean, she still is a full-time, she's the director of perfusion for a very well-known hospital out here in Arizona. And that's her full-time thing. And so she'll still do a couple speaking things with me. She'll still do a little bit here and there, but she's pretty hands-off with the nonprofit. And we've been able to put a lot of amazing pieces in place to support the mission, support the 501c3, and help us grow it.
Well, Brandon, listen, this is an incredible story. And, this sounds so cheesy and so cliche, but everything happens for a reason. And the fact that you, at 26 years old, went through this in of itself is crazy to think about. You survived, which is crazier to think about. Because of that, you've now started, Griffith Blue Heart, and your work with this nonprofit is saving countless lives and growing and growing and growing, just in making the profession better and having that impact. So, collapsing, falling on the floor, your wife being there has led you to this, which has saved, how many people would be dead if not for you falling that day or collapsing that day, and that's just, because you're healthy and because you came out on the other side, you can have that conversation. That's pretty freaking cool, man. I mean, it really is. Think about how many people are alive today because of you. Props for starting this 501 C3 and for wanting to give back. And I can see it in you when you talk. I can see it in your face. I can hear it in your voice, like, your passion for this, and, just how bad you want every cop in America to have an AED, to be trained, to be, all the things you mentioned. I can see it, Mike. I'm sure you can see it in his, when he talks, and man, that's just,
This has been a great interview because,
yeah.
Some people talk about stuff, but there is some passion in there, which there should be, right? Earn each day. I mean, the T-shirt is phenomenal. The phrase is phenomenal. The story is just unbelievable. And again, like Scott said, don't know how many people you've saved, but if you saved one, right, that's a lot, and I'm sure it's way more. Brandon, anything you want to say? Anything you would like to talk about before we close out here? We're kind of coming up on the end of the podcast here. I know you do a lot of them.
First, I just want to thank you guys both. Thank you guys for going out there and continuing to bring on guests and circulate the knowledge and better the profession. And, I know I come off pretty passionate about this, but I can honestly say that I get more out of this work than I could ever get back. I mean, the opportunities it's given me, being able to teach on military bases and with agencies across the country, to get those phone calls, to be able to help other police officers navigate their health issues, Can't tell you how many times we'll do a podcast like this, and then all of a sudden I'm getting phone calls. Hey, man, my heart's been doing this thing. Insurance won't cover it. How do I navigate this? Or, hey, who do I talk to in this bar? Being able to help these guys and prevent them. I can't tell you how many cops we've been able to identify medical issues in before they go down. And I can't tell you how many times we get the phone calls. Hey, we just used our AED. We just saved a 1-year-old. Or, hey, I just used it on a 17-year-old at volleyball practice. Or, hey, we just did this. Like, you get all these stories, man, and that's just it fills you up with a sense of righteousness. But if I can leave with one thing, I just want to tell everybody that, don't put off the shit that's important. Tomorrow is not promised to anybody. Make sure you say those I love yous. Make sure you don't put off those vacations. Make sure you're present in the moment. Put your damn phones down and be present with your family. All of those things absolutely matter, and try to earn each day you're given, and you're going to change your outlook and change the way you look and behave throughout your life. So that's all I want to leave it with, and thank you guys both for having me.
No, we appreciate it. Brandon, when you go to training, when you sit there and you listen to the instructor, you say, okay, is this guy credible? Like, what credibility is it? All you have to do is play the first 7 minutes of this podcast, and everybody's going to say, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, and he deserves to be here talking about it. So we appreciate it. Scott, why don't you take us out of here today and close up this podcast?
Well, again, Brandon, you just brought up something, but over here, over my shoulder, where's my hand? Right here is the Street Survival book that was written in 1980. And then over here is the revised version that was written 2015, 2016, somewhere in that time frame. And I work for Caliber Press, and in the Street Survival seminar, we spend about an hour talking about emotional survival and mental and physical fitness and the importance of that. And in that block, we talk about the I'm gonna guy. Like, one day I'm going to do this. One day I'm going to do that. One day I'm going to. And then the next thing you know, there is no more days to do that. And, I appreciate you saying that as someone from the younger generation who understands that there is a lot more to life than just, running a squad car all day and answering calls and, living and breathing police work. It was refreshing to hear you say that, because no one ever thinks it's going to happen to them. And unfortunately, it does. Again, another cheesy cliche, but life just isn't that way. So props for everything you're doing. We will put a link up to the Griffith Blue Heart website. We'll put it up on the screen. We'll put it in the show notes. And then I assume, Brandon, your contact information is on that site. Folks want to get in touch with you to figure out if they're having some issues. And, I didn't even think about what you said there at the end about, hey, I'm having an issue, but the insurance won't cover it. Like, those are the things that, like, people need to, like, there's no manual that you go to is, hey, if you're having problems with this, turn to page 17, right? That just doesn't exist. So thanks for adding that, because you're right. I don't make this anti-healthcare or insurance podcast, but for a lot of us, until it happens, you're not covered, right?
No, there's so many guys that contact me. They go, I went to my cardiologist, and they got to realize that your heart is made up of two components. You have the plumbing component and the electrical component. If you're just going to a plumber and he's telling you you're good, you're not looking at your electrical system, you may have other issues. And there's a lot of organizations out there that are doing full heart checks and doing things, but they'll check your lipid panels and do all kinds of stuff. That's great, but they're also not bringing in an electrophysiologist to actually check out the complications that are killing so many people. And we talked about before, 1 out of 4 regular Americans is affected by heart disease. Cops are 70 times higher risk than the general public. So we are all ticking time bombs. We all know those guys that retire within 3 to 5 years, have a massive heart attack, stroke, have a cardiac arrest. We're trying to prevent that and let these guys mitigate things throughout their careers and also navigate those, bureaucratic and insurance nightmares to get them the right care they need.
Brandon Griffith Blue Heart nonprofit. It's been an honor, sir, having you on the Two Chiefs One Mic podcast. I'm confident this episode is going to save lives. Thanks for being here, Mike. We'll catch you next time. Till then, everybody, stay safe. See you next time.